What is going on, everybody? It has been a very, very long time, and I'm going to get a lot more vigilant about posting videos and giving you guys sort of a day in the life so you can kind of get the feel for what it's like to be a Turo host. Now over 300 trips in, and we are still going strong. So there have been a ton of updates that I want to share with you all, and kind of what's next. Like, what are we doing from here? So that's what we'll get into right now. So first things first, one of my oldest cars in the fleet was a 2010 Toyota Corolla. I'll post a picture on the screen. It was a beautiful car. It had 95,000 miles when I picked it up. It got all the way up to 120,000 miles before I finally retired the car. There were a lot of reasons why I wanted to retire that particular vehicle. It was getting up there in mileage. It was the oldest car in the fleet at 12 years old. And if you're building a brand of what you want renters to expect, and one of those cars is not fulfilling that anymore, then it's time to get rid of it. So I ultimately made the decision to retire the car in favor of another Corolla. So did I end up having to cancel trips or anything like that? The answer to that was no. Basically, what I ended up doing was I bought the 2014 Toyota Corolla as its replacement. And when I brought that vehicle in, I contacted any renters that were remaining as far as their trips were concerned for the 2010, made sure they were okay with the vehicle swap for the 2014, and then got with Turo and had them go ahead and work on the vehicle swap. So there was little to no disruption in terms of renters and what they wanted to have booked. I just made sure when I listed the 2014 that I blocked out the dates of the trips that were already booked under the 2010, and as I got permission from the different renters, then I went ahead and contacted Turo and had them take care of the vehicle swap. So basically it was a wash, everything worked out great, and the renters got to enjoy the new 2014 Corolla instead of the 2010. So where is that car now? So actually I'll be using it for business for a little bit. Since the car still runs and drives really well, I don't mind personally driving a 12-year-old car, and it's a little bit more economical on fuel than my personal car, which is a Toyota 4Runner. So we'll be going ahead and using that vehicle occasionally for business here and there. Now, while I was in the middle of doing this vehicle swap, I also was looking for a car that was for business, and I ended up picking up a 2022 Chevy Spark. I'll post a picture of that right now as well. So that car is a very nice car. It's a small car. So when you look at it, you're thinking it's almost as small as a smart car. It's a little bit bigger than that. It does accommodate 4 passengers. And it's actually fairly roomy for the size of the car that it is. So if you do decide that you want to book that vehicle, I do have it available as far as available for rent. So if you go to achubrentals.com and you are looking for a small compact car, that car gets around 38 miles per gallon in the highway. So it is very economical in terms of gas, and it's only got a 9-gallon gas tank. So it's very small. Go ahead and book it if you want to go ahead and enjoy a car that is decent on fuel economy. Now, that's not the only vehicle that I have retired. There was sadly another vehicle that I retired that I had a very hard time parting with. But when you're in this business, you have to make business decisions that ultimately will benefit you. And one of the decisions I had to make was to part ways with our 2020 MX-5 Miata. That car was beautiful. That car sounded awesome. It was a fun car to drive. And I hated parting with it. But more oftentimes than not, that car sat in the driveway, and there were ultimately a couple of reasons why. Now, first off, during last summer when that car was first listed in August, it was getting maybe around 2 to 3 bookings a month, and that wasn't terrible for the price point that car was. It was doing pretty well. But what ultimately started to end up happening was other hosts in the area started listing that same MX-5 Miata in a little bit. One of them was a MX-5 Miata RF, and then there was another one that was very similar to mine that was a convertible. But the price points were extremely low, and I really didn't want to waver on my price point for this particular car, and that's for a few reasons. One is the lower you start bringing your price point, the more likely you're going to have of having a clientele that's not going to treat your cars very well. Not necessarily the case for all renters that rent at that price point, but there is a heavier likelihood that you are going to have a car that is going to have a lot of abuse done to it. Burnouts, heavy acceleration, harsh cornering, a lot of things that can ultimately contribute to wear and tear of the car. I'll give you one simple example. I did a vehicle swap because one of my cars was in the middle of being repaired. And so I ultimately offered this renter, instead of a Toyota Corolla, I offered them that MX-5 Miata. That person ended up renting the car, had no problem with it, and when they brought the car back, I noticed that there were scratches all over the front of the hood. And as it turns out, that person's cover photo is them sitting on the hood of my car, so I obviously know where these scratches are coming from. So, not saying that every one of the renters are going to do that when you start lowering your price point, but there is a heavier likelihood that if you're offering a car for very cheap and somebody can afford it and they don't care about what they're going to do to your car, then that's likely going to be happening. So I ultimately never wavered in terms of what the price point was on the car. And because of that and the fact that there were other cars that were cheaper, my car wasn't getting rented aside from maybe one at once every couple months. And it just sat. So it was time to make a decision to part ways with it. What did I get in return? I ultimately decided to kind of scope out the market and see what was doing well, what was a little bit more scarce maybe than some of the other cars that we had available. And I was between two different decisions, and I ultimately landed on a 2019 Toyota RAV4. I'll post a picture of that right here on the screen. So that car in particular is a nearly brand new vehicle. It is... even though it's a 3-year-old car, it is in fantastic shape. It was very clean when I picked it up, and it was ready to hit the road. Before I even took delivery of this car, it already had 3 bookings. So there is a lot of promise for this car. It even has a full 1-month rental in December and January. So that is fantastic. The more these cars can leave me, the better, because ultimately that obviously creates a revenue stream, helps me build the business to where it needs to go. So again, if you decide that you want to rent this Toyota RAV4, I'll post a link to it in the description, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and rent that car as well. So basically, in summary, 3 brand new cars have been added to the fleet, brand new to me at least. 2022 Chevy Spark, a 2014 Toyota Corolla, and a 2019 Toyota RAV4. Now, all the rest of the cars are still out there. We have the 2020 Dodge Journey. We have the 2019 Jeep Renegade, which is a very popular vehicle among the fleet. A lot of people really enjoy that car, probably more so for those My Sky removable panels, and I don't blame them whatsoever. It's a really fun car to drive. And we also have the 2020 Toyota Corolla that's still going strong. And the last one that we have is the 2018 Chrysler Pacifica. So that is going to do it for today's video. I have a lot of exciting things coming up as far as things that are going to be available for renters, not just in the Jacksonville area, but all throughout the country. We are in the process of actually making t-shirts that will be specific to Jacksonville. So stay tuned for that. We'll show you some things that we'll show you some designs that we're working on and give you an opportunity to buy them if you want to go ahead and buy a shirt that has Jacksonville on it, or something that you would want to specifically have made. We may be also making custom made shirts depending on how things go as far as the t-shirt sales go. So that is going to do it for today. Be on the lookout for more videos in the future. Please, if you want to rent a vehicle in the Jacksonville area, visit us at achurentals.com. We are happy to help, and you are also welcome to search us on Google. We do have a telephone number that you can give us a call at. And other than that, that's going to do it for today's video. Have a great rest of your day.